Kalyana Gunanavasa Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhya Manasorasena
Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhya Manasorasena
Romanchakam Pashutaranga Bajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Romanchakampa Sutarangavajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratan Mandiramarjanado
Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratan Mandira Manjanado
Yutasya Bhaktam Shaniyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Juktasya Bhaktamsya Niyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Chaturvidashi Bhagavat Prasado Swadana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sanghan
Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satanatritan Hari Bhakta Sangha
Kritvaiva Triptim Vajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Kridvaiva Truptim Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Shri Radhika Madhavayurapara Madhurya Leela Gunarupanam
Shri Radhika Madhavayurapara Madhura Leela Gunarupanana
Pratikshana Svadanalulupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Pratikjanasa Dhananalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Nikunja Yuno Ratikeli Sive Yayali Beyuktirapekshaniya
Nikunja Yuno Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Bhejo Tirapekshaniya
Tatrati Daksha Dati Vallabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Tatra Tidakya Ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Sakshadaриtvena Samasta Sastre Yuktastata Bhavyata Eva Sadvi
Sakyadhari Vena Shamasta Shri Yuktas Tata Bhavata Eva Sadvi
Kintu Prabhurya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Yasya prasadat Bhagavat prasado Yasya prasadat Nagati kutopi
Yasha prasada Bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadam Nagati kutapi
Jayantu Vamsasya Yasya Sri Sandhya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Jayam Stuvam Tasya Yasakti Sanjam Bande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Samsara Dava Navalira Loka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatham
Samsara Dava Nalalidha Loka Tranaya Karunya Ganaganatam
Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasa Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam
Hare Krishna Hare
Namaha Om Vishwanaya Namaha Om
Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste
Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavani Pachata Dishata Jaya Shri
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta
Jaya
Shri
Shri
Krishna
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gadadara Shivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Jai Jai
Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jai Jai Prabhupada Nitai Gaura
Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Gaur Premrande Hari Bol
Hari Bol जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभाजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सरशिष्यमार इस्कॉन प्रतिष्ठा विभूति संस्थापकाचार्य वैष्णव शिरोमणि गौर प्रियजन कृष्ण प्रेम भक्ति दत्त पतित पावन हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभयचर भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद जी की जय। श्री गौर्य गुरु वर्ग पतित उदार की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास गुण सतगुरु स्वामी प्रभु की जय। नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर जी की जय। अनंत कुछ वैष्णवृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद सुमन गौरंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावरनाय अवतार की जय। गौलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जय की जय। युग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। बृहत् दंग ट्रांसनेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपूतना राधा कुंज समकुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रज भूमि वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। The Lordship श्री राधा नीलमाधव की जय। श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम कित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु स्मृति सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कर्ण सिंहरे भगवान की जय। जय गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। बोलो श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय। निताय गौर हरि प्रेमानंदे। All glories to somebody body. All glories to somebody. All glories to somebody body. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shishi Guru Shri Gauranga. Guru Premanande. Ribopo. Singapore.
No. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahladala Dadaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha.
Hiranyakashipurvakshaha.
Shilatankanakalaye.
Shilatankanakalaye.
To Narasimha Parato Narasimha. Yato yato yamitato Narasimha. Bahir Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha. Narasingamadin Sharanam Prapate. Narasingamadin Sharanam Prapate. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Tavakara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa
Jai Jagadish
Hare,
Jai Jagadish
Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Jaya Narasingha Dev, Jaya Narasingha Dev, Jaya Narasingha Dev, Jaya Narasingha Dev.
Jaya Nrsimhare, 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 Jaya Nrsimhare.
Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha.
Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya
Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. भक्त विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंह देव भगवान की जय.
Jai
भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय.
Jai
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. गौर
जय.
भक्तवृंद की जय.
Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradirivi Satavatai Namo Namo. Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradirivi Satavatai Namo Namo. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namo. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki. Okay, I would like to say happy birthday to you today. Tulsi Priya. So you're living while we singing Priya Tulsi Priya. You shouldn't live. You are wearing things. We offer prayer to Tulsi. You're not that busy. You want to sing Tulsi Priya too? Because you're Tulsi Priya. Okay? Your birthday. You know the prayer? Yeah? Okay.
Namo Namaha
Tulasi
Krishna Priyasi
Namo Namaha.
Tulasi
Krishna
Priyasi
Namo Namaha.
कृष्ण दास कोई ये न मोरा होए
दीना कृष्ण दास कोई ये न मोरा
श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेम सदा ये न बासी
राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा ये न बासी
कृष्ण दास कोई ये न मोरा होए
दीना कृष्ण दास को ये न मोरा
श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेम सदा ये न बासी
श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा ये न बासी श्री
राधा गोविंदा प्रेम सदा ये न बासी
श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा ये न बासी
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे
जाने कानि पापानि ब्रह्मचर्य कानिशा तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे
यानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे
जाने कानि पापानि ब्रह्मचर्य कानिशा तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे जाने
तानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे
जाने कानि पापानि ब्रह्मचर्य कानिशा तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति हरे
कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram. Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Tulsi
Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinde Devi
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Nitai
Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Jai Tulsi Devi Maharani ki
Ki Jai Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satavatai Namo Namaha Vrindai Tulasi tulasi devai priyaya kesava satya Vishnu bhakti pradedeve Shratavataya namo namaha Vindaya Vrindaya tulasi devai priyaya kesava satya Krishna bhakti pradedeve Shratavataya namo namaha Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you, his wish is fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon him, making resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastime of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of carried angels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your ornament servant. His very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always fame and love Shri Radha and Govind. Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Sirvitam Haribol, Haribol, Haribol to Supriya Devi Dasi. Happy birthday. Yeah? Yes, that's what we're to do, to encourage. The word for service means to encourage others. Yeah. So have a blessed day. Yeah? Well done. So much. Very nice. Well done. You say very good. Yeah? Just more. Hare Krishna. Krishna. One second. Hare Krishna. I almost told you. And you better go to them. Krishna Kirtan. Yeah. So, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Siddhastakam Ki Jai. Chito Darpanamarjanam Pavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shri Akari Vichandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandamurivardhanam Patiparam Purnamruta Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Jayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Ita Trisitava Kripaya Bhagavan Ramaki Durdaiva Krishamya Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Namani Namanadena Kitanya Sadahari Na Dhanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitamba Jagadishaka Maye Mama Janmani Janmaneshwari Bhavatar Bhakti Rahaitu Kitvayi Vainandatanu Jakinkaram Paritama Vishame Bhavam Budhau Kripaya Tava Pad Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galarashrudharaya Vadanam Gadagarudhaya Gira Pulakarinchitam Vapokada Tava Nama Grahane Bhavishyati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakshusha Prarusha Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahiname Asli Shabapa Daratam Pinashtumam Adarshanar Marmahatam Karotuva Jatata Thava Vidadhatulam Pato Mat Pranatastu Saivana Paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri चैतन्य महाप्रभु शिष्यस्तकम की जय। नमो महावरन्नाय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायति कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवं गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाचतरि सतारिणे। Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which you're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I am fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and when will the hairs in my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Sakstakam Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhuta Gishimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanaka. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Vani Pacharani Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1.
The blaspheming devotees who dedicate their lives to propagating holy names of the Lord.
2.
To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent names of Lord Vishnu. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. To consider the glorious of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities of karma kanda. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. To not have complete faith in chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava is carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa Turabhyasya Pipasindubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnava Thakur Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhuti Shrimati Bhakti Swami. Namaste Saraswati. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganyat Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Shapitam Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Pachakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shivasavanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujjvala Primadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Abhasadanta Dvantaharine Namo Guru Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambhade Padamba Jayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Guru Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Guru Vir Baba Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhoma Sri Jagannathayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Pramapadayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurujase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhaktika Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Suratorpan Gur Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madan Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpradumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamana Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasa Rambivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatak Striesturna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sidvaita Gadadhara Shivasti Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Brahma Samiti Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadi Radhe Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chentamani Prakara Satma Sukalpa Riksha Laksha Vritesa Suradir Arvipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Pranandam Aravinda Dalayataksham Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Gandharpa Kotikamaniya Vishesha Sogvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamaya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasa Shamam Tribangalalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Arangani Yasya Sakalendriya Vittimante Pasyanti Pantikalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vikrasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achutam Anadimananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sudurlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Bantastakoti Satavatsara Sampragam Yovayo Ratapi Manaso Manipungamana Sopyasti Yat Prabhadasim Yavichintia Tatve Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Jayatam Jagadanta Kotyam Yaschakti Rasti Jagadanta Chaya Yadanta Andanta Rasta Paramana Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Busa Suktarya Mevi Nigama Pratitastavanti Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Bistabirya Evini Jirupataya Kalabi Goloka Evini Visata Kilatma Bhutto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hidesa Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaran Machintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatista Nanavatar Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumamyo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Bhavato Jagananda Koti Koti Svasesha Vasadadi Vibhuti Vina Tad Brahma Sakalam Anantama Shesha Bhutam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Trigun Yatad Visaya Veda Vidaya Manu Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Yaprani Nampati Phalam Smaratam Upetya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jaya Jasram Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijdamni Tale Chitasha Devi Mahesha Haritama Sutesha Teshu Tete Prabhavani Chaya Vitascha Yena Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Sastis Tete Pralaya Sada Vasakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chichesta Tesa Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Kshiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesha Yoga Sanjayate Naitata Pritakastieto Ya Sambhutama Pitata Samapaitikari at Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Departure Vita Santanam Abhipetya Dipayate Vivite Samana Dharma Yastada Geva Hicha Vishnataya Vibhati Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhaji Samo Yoga Nidandra Mantana Jagananda Saruma Kupa Adhara Sakti Mavalambya Param Sramurtim Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamata Vilambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagananda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasekalavi Seso Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakilation and Yeshateja Swayam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitad Vatatra Brahmaya Is Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinadaya Kumbadwande Pranama Samayas Kiladi Raja Vignam Vihanta Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudisasya Kalas Tatak Manasiti Jagatrayan Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Amcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyak Suresa Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Resesiteja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrata Kalachakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayasta Pamsi Brahmadi Kita Patakabata Stijiva Yadhata Matari Baba Prakata Baba Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrendra Gopamatamenda Mahosu Karma Bandana Rupa Valabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nidati King Chirabati Bhaja Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Kroda Kamasa Japranayadi Biti Vatsaya Moho Guru Guru Vastavya Bhava Sanchintya Tasya Sadhusim Talamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriyakanta Kanta Parama Purisha Kaputara Vajruma Bhumishti Tamani Ganama Ito Amamrita Kataga Anam Nadyam Gamanam Apibam Sipriyasa Kichiranandam Suti Param Apitada Swadyam Apichasa Yatra Siradi Bhisavati Surabi Vyasti Suma Nime Sardaki Vavrajitina Yatra Bisamaya Bhaje Svita Dukram Tamaham Ilko Kamitiam Vidanta Ste Santakshiti Virachara Katipe Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. The spiritual masters receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materialistic world by extinguishing a blazing fire of material existence out of form respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual masters, an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he is relishing the melodies of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves off my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship of Shishi Radha and Krishna. He also engages in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord from my respectful basis on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad, he is satisfied to offer my respectful basis on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited consequential paths on Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to the relish these in every moment. I offer my respectful basis on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting gopis at different times with different tastes of arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal love and charisma within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble basis on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful basis on the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who's a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, I misuse the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful basis on the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi Haribol Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 47. Tata Parichatma Samadhi Yoga Balena Jiva Prakritim Balistam Twameva Dira Purusham Visanti Te sam shamasyan natu sevayate. Tata, as far as, apare, others, cha, also, atma samadhi, transcendental self-realization. Yoga means balena, by the strength of jitva, conquering, prakritim, acquired nature or modes of nature. Balistam, very powerful. Tvam, you. Eva, only. Dhira, pacified. Purusham, person. Vishanti, enters into. Tesam, for them. Shrama, much labor. Shat, has to be taken. Na, never. Tu, but. Sevaya, by serving. Te, of you. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Others who are pacified by means of transcendental self-realization and have conquered over the modes of nature by dint of strong power and knowledge also enter into you, but for them there is much pain, whereas the devotee simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In terms of labor of love and its returns, the bhaktas, or devotees of the Lord, always have priority over persons who are addicted to the association of jnanis, or impersonalists, and yogis, or mystics. The word apare, others, is very significant in this connection. Others refers to the jnanis and the yogis, whose only hope is to merge into the existence of the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Although their destination is not so important in comparison to the destination of devotees, the labor of the non-devotees is far greater than that of the bhaktas. One may suggest that there is sufficient labor for the devotees also in the matter of discharging devotional service, but that labor is compensated by the enhancement of transcendental pleasure. The devotees derive more transcendental pleasure while engaged continuously in the service of the Lord than when they have no such engagement. In the family combination of a man and a woman, there is much labor and responsibility for both of them. Yet, when they are single, they feel more trouble for want of their united activities. The union of the impersonalists and the union of the devotees are not on a par. The impersonalists try to fully stop their individuality by attaining Sayuja Mukti, or unification by merging into oneness, whereas the devotees keep their individuality to exchange feelings in relationship with the Supreme Individual Lord. Such reciprocation of feelings takes place in the transcendental Vaikuntha planets, and therefore the liberation sought by the impersonalists is already achieved in devotional service. The devotees attain mukti automatically, while continuing the transcendental pleasure of maintaining individuality. As explained in previous verses, the destination of devotees is Vaikuntha, or Akunta Disnya, the place where anxieties are completely eradicated. One should not mistake the destination of devotees and that of the impersonalists to be one and the same. The destinations are distinctly different, and the transcendental pleasure derived by the devotee is also distinct from the chinmatra, or spiritual feelings alone. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Others who are pacified by means of transcendental self-realization and have conquered over the modes of nature by dint of strong power and knowledge also enter into you, but for them there is much pain, whereas the devotee simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. So Prabhupada here is continuing to explain the difference between the Mayavadis and the devotees. And this is very important to understand because there are major differences, very, very big differences between the two. And we went over a lot of those points yesterday. Now there's some further points being made today in this purport. So when it says In terms of a labor of love and its returns, the bhaktas, or devotees of the Lord, always have priority over persons who are addicted to the association of jnanis or impersonalists and yogis or mystics. So, Prabhupada here explains, or it refers to a labor of love. So, what is a labor of love? Well, if you love someone, you engage in more labors in order to maintain a relationship. If you don't have that relationship, you don't engage in what's called labor of love. These extra activities one engages in to express their feelings of appreciation and love for another person. So the labor of love, in other words, you're taking on further responsibilities, more so than if you just take care of yourself. And it's due to affection or attachment or love for another person. So here you can see where it says, in terms of labor of love and its returns, the bhaktas, or devotees of the Lord, always have priority over persons who are addicted to the association of jnanis or impersonalists and yogis or mystics. Now, why is there a difference in the labor of love of the devotee and that of the jnani, yogi, and impersonalists or mystics? So that Prabhupada says the word aparai, others, is very significant in this connection. Others refers to the jnanis and the yogis, whose only hope is to merge into the existence of the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Although their destinations are not so important in comparison to the destination of devotees, the labor of the non-devotees is far greater than that of the bhaktas. So, notice he doesn't say the labor of love. The labor of the non-devotees is far greater than that of the bhaktas, because they're acting for their personal benefit, whereas the devotee is acting for the pleasure of the Lord. The devotee also gets personal benefit, but the overriding desire is to please the Lord. Now, next is going to be very significant. Although the destination is not so important in comparison to the destination of devotees, the labor of the non-devotees is far greater than that of the devotees. One may suggest that there is sufficient labor for the devotees also in the matter of discharging devotional service, but that labor is compensated by the enhancement of transcendental pleasure. There's the real point. That labor is compensated by the enhancement of transcendental pleasure. So the devotee does not complain about the labor of love, because there is a reciprocal relationship there, whereas the Mayavadi undergoes more, let's say, difficulty, because he's not interested in a relationship with Krishna, and therefore he's not going to feel ananda in his activities. He's only interested in his self-liberation. And where is he going to go? He's going to go to a place where there's no reciprocal relationships. It's the Brahmajyoti. There's no devotional service in the Brahmajyoti. So this is a wonderful point that Prabhupada makes here. And only he can make these type of points, or only he and other great Mahajans can make these type of points. So the devotees derive more transcendental pleasure while engaged continuously in the service of the Lord than when they have no such engagement. So the service of the Lord, so devotional service means two things: the devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the servant and the served. So therefore, this reciprocal relationship, and it's reciprocal, it's not one way, it is reciprocal, because Krishna appreciates the service of the devotee, and therefore he gives the devotee knowledge, and he protects the devotee so that he doesn't fall down. These are reciprocal. It's a reciprocal relationship. The Mayavadi doesn't have a real reciprocal relationship because he thinks that his identity is false and the identity of Krishna is also false. So he's not looking for any reciprocal relationship. He wants simply to merge into the impersonal Brahman. So where he's going is impersonal. Whereas where the devotee is going is very personal and reciprocal. The devotees derive more transcendental pleasure while engaged continuously in the service of the Lord than when they have no such engagement. In the family combination of a man and a woman, there is much labor and responsibility for both of them. Yet, when they are single, they feel more trouble for want of their united activities. So he's giving a practical example there. When a husband and wife work together cooperatively, they have a lot of duties to perform, right? But because they're working cooperatively, they don't feel the weight of that as much as when they were single and they had to do everything on their own. The union of the impersonalists and the union of the devotees are not on a par. Yeah, the Mayavadis connect with the Brahman effulgence, right? But the devotees connect with Krishna, the most beautiful, the most richest, the most knowledgeable, the most powerful, the most famous, the most renounced person. So there's a big difference between merging with the Brahmajyoti and connecting to Krishna. Right? The impersonalists try to fully stop their individuality by attaining Sayujya Mukti, or unification by merging into oneness, whereas the devotees keep their individuality to exchange feelings in relationship with the Supreme Individual Lord. Such reciprocation of feelings takes place in the transcendental Vaikuntha planets, and therefore the liberty by the impersonalists is already achieved in devotional service. The devotees attain mukti automatically while continuing the transcendental pleasure of maintaining individuality. As explained in the previous verse, the destination of the devotees is Vaikuntha or Akunta Disnya, the place where anxieties are completely eradicated. One should not mistake the destination of the devotees and that of the impersonalists to be one and the same. The destinations are distinctly different. And the transcendental pleasure derived by the devotee is also distinct from the chinmatra, or spiritual feelings alone. Well, to perceive a spiritual feeling, you have to be a person, right? So if you try and annihilate your personality, you're going to also eliminate the feelings. So there might be feelings on the way to going into the Brahmajyoti, but once you attain it, you have wiped out your feelings because you're trying to deny your individuality. So we see the dilemma of the Mayavadis. They're trying to do something that is impossible. They can maintain it for some time, but they can't maintain it eternally. So if you try and do something impossible, it's much more difficult than if you do something in which you are in relationship with others who are well-wishers and are helping you. And the ultimate well-wisher is Krishna himself. So we see that the labor of love of the devotees is not a deterrent in any way for their enthusiasm in engaging in devotional service, because they discover more and more the reciprocal relationship with Krishna, which is beyond any other type of relationship, and the feelings that one experiences are much greater than any feelings that the Mayavadi or the yogi may experience. Is this imaginable? Hardly, because we're talking about something that's transcendental and eternal and increasing all the time. So we have to actually taste it. But when we get that higher taste, then we don't want to go to anything lower. The Mayavadi does not get that higher taste, so they think they've achieved the summit of everything, but that's a false understanding. The devotee does get that higher taste. So that verse in the second chapter, Vishaya vinivartante nirahara siddhehinam vasura jamra sapyasya param dristva nivartate, that higher taste. It's 259. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So what is the higher taste? It's the reciprocal relationship with Krishna and devotees. Much higher taste than simply sense enjoyment. Because sense enjoyment is a selfish thing. You're trying to exploit someone else's body or something else for your own pleasure. So it's a selfish act. Whereas in reciprocating or serving Krishna, it is an act of benevolence and of love and dedication, and it's reciprocated by the Lord. The more we serve the Lord, the more the Lord reciprocates with us. So therefore, there's no comparison of the pleasure, or let's say the sensations experienced by the Mayavadi going toward Brahman effulgence, and the devotee going toward Krishna consciousness. The more one approaches Krishna, the more conscious they become. Whereas the Mayavadi, he's trying to eliminate his consciousness so that he can merge into this, so he become one in the Brahma Jyoti. So we see everything is upside down in the Mayavad philosophy. But the devotees are in full, let's say, ecstasy. They're feeling this transcendental ecstasy the closer and closer they come to Krishna. So it says that in the purport, unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for the eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc., is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. They don't have knowledge of Vaikuntha. They don't have knowledge of Goloka. They don't have knowledge of Krishna. They don't have knowledge of the spiritual world in general. All they have knowledge of is the impersonal Brahman. Right? But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness is no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life, but such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. So, obviously, there's a big difference between merging into nothingness like the Buddhists, or merging into the Brahma Jyoti light like the Mayavadis, or building up a reciprocal transcendental relationship with Krishna and his devotees. There's a major difference between the two. The devotee is full of increasing blissful experiences of Ananda, and the Mayavadi gets bored, and then desires something and falls down. You see. Now, how long can you go without a relationship with anyone? Not very long. So we see that the Mayavad philosophy is what you would call a dead-end philosophy, whereas Krishna consciousness is always expansive, always increasing, because Krishna has infinite qualities and infinite pastimes. Okay, so that's an interesting point. Now, yesterday we were talking about the 10th chapter, the second verse, third verse, and then our homework was to read the fourth and fifth verse. And I said you would find out a lot about Krishna by reading the fourth and fifth verse. Well, the fourth and fifth verse, the previous verse, the third verse, is specifically about Krishna, his unique qualities, and the fourth and fifth verse is about qualities that a devotee can develop, right? But even though those qualities are something that the devotee develops through Krishna consciousness, it also points to Krishna, because these are transcendental qualities. So it says, intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, nonviolence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone, Krishna says. Okay, so in the purport, Prabhupada says the different qualities of living entities, be they good or bad, are all created by Krishna, and they are described here. Now, intelligence refers to the power to analyze things in their proper perspective. And knowledge refers to understanding what is spirit and what is matter. Well, obviously, we can gradually develop these qualities. And if you look, like let's say we look up the definition of intelligence in the dictionary. Let's see what it says. And then the definition of knowledge. Let's see what it says.
Intelligence has been defined in many ways. The capacity for abstraction, logic, understanding, self-awareness, learning, emotional knowledge, reasoning, planning, creativity, critical thinking, problem solving. More generally, it can be described as the ability to perceive or infer information and to retain it as a knowledge to be applied towards adaptive behaviors within the environment or context.
What kind of behaviors? Erratic?
Adaptive.
Adaptive.
Yeah,
Okay.
adaptive.
Yeah, okay, well, that's, someone would say that's really comprehensive definition. But you see how there's a saying that real knowledge is succinct and to the point, right? Succinct means it's not like some long definition. It's short, but it's directly to the point. So, intelligence refers to the power to analyze things in their proper perspective. And that includes everything that this other definition is saying, plus more. What is the proper perspective in relationship to Krishna? Does it mention anything like that? No. Without understanding Krishna, you cannot understand things in their proper perspective. And you see how they have to go through a long and, let's say, complicated explanation. They're trying to cover all the points, but they miss the most important point. Krishna himself, who is the real quality of everything, or the real, let's say, there's primary and secondary qualities. He's the primary quality of everything. So how would you be able to understand or analyze things in their proper perspective if you annihilate or if you reject the most important quality of everything, and that is the presence of Krishna? Nothing is standing on its own. Nothing is independent of Krishna. See? So that's why I was saying, if you read this purport, you'll understand a lot about Krishna, although the purport is about devotees and the qualities they can develop. But by analyzing what these qualities are, and they're created by Krishna. In other words, nothing is independent of Krishna. That's the whole point. These qualities are created by Krishna. So the materialists, they factor out Krishna in everything. Now, what does it say about intelligence? Knowledge. Yeah.
Knowledge can be defined as awareness of facts or as practical skills, and may also refer to the familiarity with objects and situations. Knowledge of facts, also called propositional knowledge, is often defined as true belief that is distinct from opinion or guesswork by virtue of justification.
By virtue of?
Justification. That's kind of the broader definition.
What?
Yeah, this is from the Wikipedia. So.
Yeah. Okay, so the problem with that is the same as the previous one. They don't talk about Krishna. So read it again. Let me just hear it one more time.
Knowledge can be defined as awareness of facts or as practical skills.
Practical skills?
Yeah. And may also refer to the familiarity of with objects and situations.
Okay, so what's the problem with that? It only refers to things material. It doesn't refer to anything spiritual. So it's not even half reality, because the spiritual world is 3 times greater than the material world. So they're dealing with a very limited, let's say, portion of knowledge. Knowledge includes, but Krishna's definition is short and much more to the point. And it says, knowledge refers to understanding what is spirit and what is matter. There you go. So their definition is only about matter. See? So now we can see how the dictionary is misleading, right? And why mundane knowledge is misleading, because it's dealing with a very small portion of reality or the truth. And if we contain ourselves into that small portion, we will never realize our full potential. So it's actually holding you back. Those definitions, those restrictions, and factoring out Krishna all the time will hold you back from achieving the purpose of human life. This is why it's dangerous learning these things, because it's one-sided and it's only about matter. It's not about anything spiritual. And now Prabhupada continues. He says, ordinary knowledge obtained by a university education pertains only to matter, right? And it is not accepted here as knowledge. Whoa, it's not even accepted as knowledge, right? Knowledge means knowing the distinction between spirit and matter. So he repeated it a second time, so we get it clear in the mind. What you're learning in the schools and what you're learning in the dictionary is not even half the truth. It's at most, it is 1/4 of the truth, and that's at most. It's not even, they're not even teaching what actually matter is. They don't really understand what matter is. By the way, look up the definition of matter. Let's see what they say. See, this is interesting, right? You go to the dictionary, you find out they're incomplete definitions. Go ahead.
It says physical substance in general as distinct from mind and spirit. That which occupies space, possesses rest, mass, and especially distinct from energy. So
and what is distinct from?
Energy. Energy.
An energy or distinct
just
from energy?
Distinct from energy.
It's distinct from energy.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's distinct.
So
from
they're trying to differentiate between mind, or they're saying matter is that which is different from mind, spirit, and just energy. Because there is a difference between energy can convert into matter, matter can convert into energy. So they're also trying to say that it's a physical form that's distinct from pure energy.
Okay. Okay. All right, so let's see what Krishna says about matter. He says, it's my inferior spiritual energy. So again, they're wrong. See, this is very interesting, isn't it? Again, they're wrong. They're misleading you. See? Because they're factoring out Krishna all the time. Okay, so then it says, knowledge means knowing the distinction between spirit and matter. In modern education, there's no knowledge about spirit. They're simply taking care of the material elements and bodily needs. Therefore, academic knowledge is not complete. There it is. Okay, so that's why I say you can learn a lot about Krishna by reading this purport, which is all about the qualities of devotees. See? Next, now he's going to go word by word. Asammoha. Freedom from doubt and delusion can be achieved when one is not hesitant and when he understands the transcendental philosophy. Well, would you say that people who don't know the transcendental philosophy have a lot of doubt and delusion? Yes.
In fact, operating in delusion.
Operating in delusion, yeah. Why? Because they're not getting the full information about reality. They're getting very limited knowledge of reality. So how can they be free of delusion, and how can they be free of doubt? There are tremendous doubts nowadays, tremendous doubts. Like, for example, some people are doubting that the United States can continue as the United States. They think that it could become disunited states, like what happened to Russia, right? Or the Soviet Union. It disunited. And then people have doubt about the economy, and they have doubt about politics and politicians, and they have doubts about about their life, how long they're going to live. They have doubts about whether they're going to get sick, or whether they're going to run out of money. That's another big doubt people have. You know, if I retire from working with $1 million, is that enough to maintain me if I live to be 90 years old? They have these doubts, you know, and the clever materialists, they take advantage, or they of people's doubts to sell them things, right? It's like, for example, you should have the Patriots box of dry food that could maintain your family for 3 months in case of an emergency, right? So people stock up and they say, well, why only 3 months? Let me get enough for a year, right? So they buy, 4 boxes or 6 boxes of the Patriot dry food. All you have to do is add water to it and eat it, right? So they exploit the doubts of people. Now, not only that, they create doubts in the people by saying, "Oh, the value of the dollar is diminishing because the government is printing too much money. Pretty soon, your dollar will no longer buy a dollar's worth like you had 5 years ago. It'll only buy 40% or 50% of what you could have bought years ago because the government is printing money. So now you're in doubt and you have anxiety. They're printing money. That means my money is going to be devalued." So you see, they create doubts because once they create the doubt, they can exploit the people. Right? Okay, so knowledge means knowing the distinction between spirit and matter. In modern education, there's no knowledge about spirit. They are simply taking care of the material elements and bodily needs. Therefore, academic knowledge is not complete. So asammoha means freedom from doubt and delusion, can be achieved when one is not hesitant and when he understands the transcendental philosophy. So what does it mean, not hesitant? Not hesitant to become Krishna conscious. Because most people hesitate. They say, well, I'm too young to take this up, I'll just wait till, I'm old and then I'll chant Hare Krishna. So they're going to be full of doubts and delusion, waiting to get old before they become Krishna conscious. And there's no guarantee they're going to become Krishna conscious when they're old either, right? It's just like the race between the rabbit and the tortoise. So the rabbit obviously can run much faster than the tortoise. So when the race started, the rabbit burst, with a flame of energy, and was way, way past the tortoise, right? But then the rabbit said, why am I exerting so much energy? I'll just take a little bit of rest because that big, fat dummy is not going to catch up to me at any time, So he took some rest, and the tortoise came along slowly but surely, and he won the race because the rabbit fell asleep and didn't wake up. So, I'll become Krishna conscious when I'm 70 years old. Well, how do you know you're going to live to be 70? You see? They're hesitating, thinking, I got plenty of time. But they don't have plenty of time, right? We don't know how much time we have. And there's no guarantee that he will become Krishna conscious or take up Krishna consciousness when he's 70 years old, right? So when you hesitate, it will feed or engender doubts and delusion when you hesitate about Krishna consciousness. And when he understands the transcendental philosophy, well, if you don't understand the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, you'll be full of doubts and delusions, for sure, right? Slowly but surely he becomes free from bewilderment. Nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and caution. Well, the process of becoming Krishna conscious is, for most people, a slow process. It can be immediate also. Someone asked Prabhupada, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? He said, immediately, 1 minute. Or a whole lifetime. It depends on how determined you are to be Krishna conscious. So, someone who dies and sees hell, but yet comes back alive again. So there are examples of people who say, I died, and I came back again. And now I can explain to you what I saw when I died. Well, there are people like that, right? They write books like that. I died. I was medically diagnosed as dead. But he wasn't dead, really. And then he saw some things. So he's coming back and saying, well, I died, and I'm coming back, and I'm going to tell you what I saw. Right? Now, how do you know if it's true or not true? You don't know. If you die, that means you lose consciousness, right? So he's saying, no, I saw all these things. So therefore, he must not have been dead. If he saw all those things, right? Anyway, we see that there are many different, let's say, types of people in this world with all different claims. But it says, it's sure that for most people, Krishna consciousness is a slow process.
In that case, because the consciousness of the person is still, I mean, that actually proves that we're not the body. Because if we, let's say, even
He's
if
saying he was still conscious.
he was still
after
conscious
death.
even after death, means like it's just that he entered back into the body somehow.
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert on the subject, but I would be very doubtful that he actually died. You can be considered brain dead but still alive. You know, there are a lot of people that are brain dead but they're still alive. They're technically dead, but not practically dead. And then therefore they come back alive, right? They seem to have stopped being conscious, but actually they're in some kind of a limbo state. Like a person who goes into a coma. Is that person alive or dead? Well, no, they're still alive, right? But they don't seem to have consciousness, right? There's no interaction. You talk to the person, they don't answer you back. And they can stay like that and eventually die, or they can stay like that and come out of it. Now, what is a coma? Prabhupada has explained this. It's a person is put into coma because there's a discussion going on what to do with this person by the demigods. Right? And sometimes that discussion goes on for a long time, and sometimes it's very quick. Right? But they can't decide because some kind of complicated issue of karma, and they're trying to decide what to do with this person. So they put him in a coma, and they discuss it. Okay, so nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and with caution. So if you're going to accept Krishna consciousness with care and caution, it could take a long time, especially if you have a lot of doubts and delusions. It'll take a long time to eliminate all those doubts and delusions. So I know some people who are eternally bhaktas, meaning they come to the temple, but they never take initiation. They can't make their mind up, right? Because, they say, well, I'm a Christian, but I really have great affection for the devotees because I like what they're doing, right? So one person it's like they're in limbo. They're right on the fence, but they can't completely jump over it, and they can't go back. They're just stuck on the fence, right?
What we should do, Maharaj, for that person? If they're on fence for a long time.
Give them plenty of prasadam, a lot of kindness and love. Right? Eventually, they're going to go where the love is. The love and affection. That's where they're going to go eventually, but it's going to take time. Right? Okay, so the next word is shama. Tolerance and forgiveness should be practiced. One should be tolerant and excuse the minor offenses of others. Well, excuse the minor offenses. What do you do with the big offenses? Don't excuse them? Say that's a question. Like, for example, my wife went to South Africa to take part in a festival. She was invited to come there. So it's a long, airplane ride, right? And very, you get really tired. It takes hours and hours and hours to get there. And first you have to go to Europe, and from Europe you have to get a plane to go all the way down to South Africa. So when she got there, she was very tired, and she got her luggage out, and for like not even maybe 1 minute, she was looking at something, and her luggage was behind her, and her pocketbook was there on top of the luggage. And when she looked back, there was no luggage, no pocketbook, nothing. And she just landed, right? So that was her introduction to South Africa. And it took about 2 months to get her papers back. They had to reapply for it. First of all, explain what's happened to her, and then reapply for the passport, and reapply for this thing and that thing, And she didn't have any money at all, right? So that was her experience in South Africa. Do you think she'll ever go back to South Africa? No way. Now, I just did a puja yesterday, ceremony yesterday for a family that moved from South Africa to the United States. And I asked them, why did you move? And they said, well, for the same reason your wife is never going to go back there. They asked me, how long ago did this happen to your wife? I said, I think it was like 7 or 8 years ago. I said, yep, that's when it started. That's when it became really dangerous to live there, And when they saw what was going on, and people, kids are being kidnapped, and people are being assaulted and things like that, they decided this is too dangerous for us. We got to move. And they moved, and now they're living in the United States. So, this tolerate minor offenses of others. Well, the question, you're begging the question here, what do you do with the major offenses, right? You don't tolerate them, or you do tolerate them, And forgiveness, or what can you forgive and what should you not forgive, right? So that's an open question here, and we have to read on to find the answer to that question. And then let's see what time is. Okay, we'll stop right there. We only covered 2 points. But you see, there's a lot to go. And this is a long purport. This goes on for 3, 4 pages, 4 or 5 pages, right? And that's why I said you can learn a lot about Krishna by reading this purport, and a lot about everything by reading this purport. So are there any questions?
Maharaj, so I think today's actual Bhagavatam verse is exactly, clarifying between the Mayavad path as versus the devotee. I mean, Krishna himself answers the same question in 12th chapter, but Bhagavatam also clearly elaborates the same
12th
thing.
chapter of Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, that's where Arjuna asks to Krishna, right?
Yeah, what's the difference between the Mayavadis and...
Yeah, like those in the impersonal
Why
worship.
one is a lot of trouble and the other one is...
Correct. So I think this explains more detail of that. So correct. And then I think the other point that you mentioned is that because these Mayavadis, because they don't have the relationship when in that state, they fall down, and that's probably why, because they're seeking a relationship, they again fall down and then have illicit relationships.
Yes. There's a story of Sabari Muni. He was meditating 10,000 years underwater.
Yeah.
And at one point he perceived the fish having sex, whatever that is. I don't know what they do, but obviously there was some reproductive activity going on. And it broke his meditation after 10,000 years. Then he had to scramble to come up to the surface of the water, otherwise he would drown, So even after 10,000 years of meditating underwater, and what did he do? Immediately he went out, and he had algae on his body, and his body had deteriorated, staying underwater all that time. Deteriorated means it didn't look so handsome, let's put it like that. The first thing he did was go to see this king and insist to marry his daughter, and also have the company of all the assistants of the daughter, right? So he went crazy for sex life. So there's a big difference between these individual meditators who want to close out everything, including all relationships, and the experience of a devotee who enters into a relationship with Krishna and his devotees is a major difference, right? And any trouble is compensated for by the ecstasy they feel in the association of devotees and Krishna, right? So it becomes a labor of love. In other words, you take on extra activities because of the relationship with others, but it's not felt as if it's something bad. You're happy because you're feeling ecstasy in the relationship to Krishna and his devotees. So I mean, to make points like this is a wonderful thing, because only pure devotees can make these points. Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other question? Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We'll continue tomorrow. So why does Prabhupada talk so much about the difference between the Mayavadis and the devotees? Because most people are attracted to the Mayavad philosophy, right? Because they're promising you'll never suffer, you attain this state where there's no suffering. So most people are suffering, so they like to hear this, so they like this meditation, silent meditation, and being, completely wrapped up in yourself, and then eventually eliminating yourself, right, or your self-awareness. So they think it's a good thing, it's peace, but actually it's incomplete. Therefore, and anyway, they go on prasana, meditation, right? Yeah, vipassana, right? But it only lasts 10 days, and then they come back. So it's like a short vacation. Let them stay there permanently. No, they won't do that.
I was thinking about yesterday, I was talking to somebody, they mentioned about this vipassana, but they're focusing on the breath. Krishna says that he is the source of the breath, prana, apana, upaya.
No, but the genuine yogi has to stop breathing. Did you know that? That's the way they prolong their life. They actually stop breathing. It's a yoga exercise where you swallow the tongue and put your toe in your anus, and you close all the holes of the body, and you catch the breath in the neck, and that way you can prolong your life in this body, right? So, but who's going to do that? Swallow your tongue, put your toe in your anus, close up all the holes of the body, It's all nonsense. What the yoga they do is complete nonsense today. It's not real yoga. It's just some kind of phony exercise.
Possible to follow if they have sincerity.
Yeah.
And in the end, you're not getting anything, the highest goal anyway. And there is no guarantee after 10,000 years as well.
Yeah, just see, 10,000 years meditating, and some little thing happens, and it breaks his whole meditation. Right? And then he goes crazy in the other way. Right? Haribol. Okay, so let's start.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bandhamui Savadana Mate
Bandhamui Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasade Bhai ये बाबा तोरिया जाय
Janar prasade bhai bhavadariya jai
कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होते
Krishna prapti oya oite
कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होते
Krishna prapti oya oite
गुरु मुख पद्मा वाक्य चित्ते कोरिया क्या
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittite Koriya Kya
आरना कोरी हो मानी आशा
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
श्री गुरु चेराने रति ऐसे उत्तमा गति
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttamagati
जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्वाशा
Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasa
जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्वाशा
Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasa
चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
Chakshudan Nilaje Janme Janme Prabhu Se
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित
Divya Gyani De Prakasita
प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते
Prema Bhakti Jahote Avidya Vinasa Jate
वेद गाय जहर चरितो
Vedika Janara Charito
वेद गाय जहर चरितो
Vedika Janara Charito
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जैनार बंधु
Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जैनार बंधु
Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu
लोकना लोकेरा जीवाना
Vedika Janara Charito
लोकना लोकेरा जीवाना
Lokanath Lokera Jivana
आह प्रभु कोरो दोया देह मोरे पादा छाया
Aha Prabhu Kora Doya De Amore Pada Jaya
ये बेजास घुस त्रिभुवाना
Ebeas Suchi Bhuvana
आहा प्रभु कोरो दोया देह मोरे पादा छाया
Aha Prabhu Kora Doya De Amore Pada
ये
Jaya
बेजास घुस त्रिभुवाना
Yas Suchi Bhuvana
तेरा प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना
Prabhupada Patita Pavana
जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya
Sarsarastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishnarastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesham Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nityai Gaura Hari Bol
Tagora Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitagora Hari Bol Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajagachasta Tadasata Shri 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 Mahari's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Yamuna Maya Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi All glories to the Assembled Divine All glories to the Assembled Divine All glories to the Assembled Divine All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Patita Bhavan Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my conscience purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all his desires. He opens my darkened eyes, fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet.
Your fame is spread all over the three worlds.
We take shelter of lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu. Sesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desataya. Hare Krishna.